Well, we are back talking baseball on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Very much looking forward to it. All coming up next. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We're sponsored by Fantrax. We appreciate them for the sponsorship there. I am Scott Jenstad, finally joined, as always, on Sundays by my good friend, Jeff Erickson. Jeff, anything new with you in your life?
I've got you back, first of all. That's huge if true. Get almost an empty nester. That's kind of wild. But I've also got a VSiN show. I'm on TV. This ugly mug is on TV 5 days a week, 11 to 12 Best Coast time here on VSiN, where myself and Nick Whalen are talking the intersection of fantasy and gaming. So having a lot of fun with that so far.
That's awesome, man. I love Nick. He's a great dude.
He is. And we're having a lot of fun with the show, and it's just another outlet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very nice. I'll have to check that out.
Definitely. So welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
We missed you, although we were in capable hands the last 2 weeks with Vlad and Ariel, but it's good to have you back, man. And how are things? Are you guys hanging in there?
We are hanging in there. I think I've mentioned on Twitter, obviously, we were displaced with the Eaton fire. My house is still standing, barely. There are 5 houses on our block that burned down. I got a FaceTime at 7 a.m. that morning with multiple houses in our street on fire and like little brush fires all over the street. No firefighters in sight. So it was definitely touch and go there for a while. We're displaced for a couple of months. We got to do a lot of smoke remediation, which is the term of the day over here. So we've got a lot of stuff that's smoke damage. There's like soot and ash. We were tested. No asbestos, which is really good.
Good.
A little bit of lead, which will get taken care of in the cleanup. My office, which I'm usually podcasting in the back, you've seen is really still smells like a campfire back there. Like the doors and windows are not quite as good as they are in our house, but all things considered, we're very lucky to have a house still standing. I have a lot of friends. My daughter's school burned down, so it's been really rough, but we're really lucky to have a house still standing. So we're more in logistics hell than a lot of bad situations people are in. So thankful for that, but happy back talking baseball with you as well.
Yeah, I remember when I texted you the night of that first night. I go, "Are you okay up there?" And you go, "I don't think so. I'm leaving right now." And it was scary because from my house, which I'm on the other side of the fire, and the closest was probably 3 or 4 miles. But my God, that first night when the wind was howling, it looked like a lot closer, first of all. And you didn't know what was going to happen. We're getting all these evacuation warnings. You were getting requirements. That was the difference.
My wife went on the front porch and she was like, "You need to come here." I'm like, "Oh, what are we doing?" Like the power was out. We're just my daughter and I were just reading the back on our iPads or Kindles. I went out front and literally could see flames and they looked really close. So I got everybody out fast. I did go back about 10 o'clock that night and got some cash and like my computer and stuff. And it was crazy. It was like war zone. It was windy. And there was you could see embers flying around. It was wild, but we're lucky, but it's a lot of devastation up there. It's gonna take a long time to rebuild, but hopefully everybody comes back.
Yep.
So, but let's talk baseball. It's the middle of February. What are you doing draft wise? Have you drafted yet? Where are you at kind of in your draft prep? Because I'm always a little bit late, and I'm especially late this year.
Yeah, so I'm doing my second DC. I did, it's the First Pitch Arizona Speakers League, which isn't part of the overall contest, but I did one, just stepped into a DC, and once you know it, Vlad Sudler and Casey Cha were in it. So
that's right. Casey Cha's back, huh?
Yes, he is. I did a 12 before that, the NFBC 50. I've done like a couple of other things. I did a mock the other day with Scott Bogman, which was a lot of fun. But I'm obviously the big stuff's coming up. Like next, we've got a beat Jeff Erickson in the online championship on Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to that. And then it gets really hot and heavy after that.
What's your plan in terms of the NFBC world? What are you planning? Are you drafting? You're drafting in Vegas, I assume. What's kind of your main event plan?
Doing the Saturday, the main event that we always do. I'm hoping you're going to be there, but
I'm so too.
I'm definitely in for that. I'm probably going to do a second online championship. We'll see about a second main. Last year was really bad, Scott. Really, really bad. I had a terrible, awful, no good, lousy year, and I don't really have a good excuse. I just need to get better. So working on that. And I got to get my reps in right now. I've got labor coming up in 2 weeks. I've been planning Tout Wars, trying to fill the last 2 spots. Should have those.
Are you going to New York for Tout Wars?
I'm going to New York for Tout Wars the week before Vegas, as always.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's going to be good. We got Scarf coming up on Sunday.
Early this year.
We're the second to last one of those Earth leagues.
Oh, wow. You guys have really drafted early.
Yeah. That's been the new point of emphasis in Scarf and Earth and all that. But we just were trying to find a weekend where we could all do it together there. And it wasn't going to be Super Bowl weekend. I knew that. Yeah.
I imagine as you get into March, people get a lot of drafts and busy on weekends too. So
for sure.
I don't know what I'm playing fully yet. I'm signed up for the main event in Vegas. I'm hoping to make it. My weekends are kind of crazy with house stuff right now, but I'm hoping to make it. I'm just going to carve out that weekend go. And then I don't know. I'll probably play one other main. I haven't decided if I'm going to do CLQ or not. I just fell out of the top 15 in the last 2 or 3 weeks last year, which is kind of a bummer because that would have been a fun auction to be in this year. But haven't fully decided. I might pare back a little bit just because I think my prep time is going to be a little tougher this year than normal. But I'm looking forward to it. I need a distraction pretty badly. I think I told you I got in a car accident 2 weeks after the fire too, so my car was totaled also. So it's
my God, I didn't know about that actually.
Oh, then I told you that. Yeah, I was driving down the Highway 111 in Palm Springs, just 40 miles an hour to a green light, and somebody turned left on a red arrow right into me. It was pretty ugly. So
I'm so sorry, man.
That was a good way to wrap up the month.
At least your house didn't get hit by the mudslides that was hitting Altadena just this past week with the monsoon that we had.
Two blocks north, there were cars under mud, and I was like, I can't deal with one more thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so we avoided that. But let's jump into some baseball. We got a few weekend kind of news and notes as we're starting to get guys showing up to spring training. To the surprise of no one, Jeff, Giancarlo Stanton already dealing with some elbow issues.
Yeah, I just saw that. And, they said that it was bothering him in the playoffs in the World Series, which kind of follows. He wasn't, he was so good early on in the playoffs. And you kind of wonder what happened there going at the end. But, that's definitely a big loss there. I mean, I still view, they're better. The Yankees are better prepared than they were in previous years, but I still view him as kind of hyper important for this lineup.
They are. You take them out of the middle, their lineup gets a lot shorter really quickly. My concern is that you mentioned the elbow stuff in the World Series. If that's still bugging him now, that's a problem. It's been 5 months in them. That's not great.
Yeah, you hate it when you're dealing with something that when you say, oh, he should be ready for the start of spring training, and he's not ready for the start of spring training.
Yeah, he equated it to tennis elbow, which I can promise you I've had in both elbows. It's not really fun, although it's manageable and it will go away, but so that's not great there. As I was scrolling news today, I saw I'm going to ask you about Matt McLain. We're going to talk some Reds hitters after 200 earlier. We're going to talk about hitters after 200. I should have said it at the top. We're going to do a lot of intriguing hitters after 200. But where's Matt McLain playing, Jeff? Is it outfield or is it going to be second base?
Second base.
Okay.
And I'm glad I posted that note.
Beautiful. Well done.
Yes, thank you. And the interesting thing is Terry Francona said that he's hopefully only going to play one position in spring training.
Oh, good.
And the reason that's noteworthy is because in the Arizona Fall League, he got some reps in center field. Then they acquired Gavin Lux in a trade with the Dodgers, leading to more speculation, perhaps by me, that McLain would play more center field. But instead, it's second base that McLain's going to play. And that's what I want. I don't want to Senzel him. I want him to play one position and stay there.
So I don't want to spoil anything for later, but Gavin Lux is on our list. Where does Gavin Lux play now?
He's going to get some reps at third base, and I think some left field as well. And he actually was going to play some spring training games at second base too. But that's just the thing. Can his arm handle third base? Is he?
I was going to say it can't handle shortstop. I just don't know if it can handle third base or not.
Yeah, I rumor has it that he's McNeelian in his abilities in left field. So we'll see about that.
It's an excellent reference that only 12 people get.
That's a super cut right there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cut.
Yeah. But the point is I think there was a YouTube thing going around with his missteps in the outfield. So we'll see with Lux. But I like the idea of getting him in as a bat. I mean, he can even DH for that matter. I don't think that's I don't think that's really blocked off from him either. Spencer Steer's got a bad shoulder to start spring training, so there's some openings there. Encarnacion Strand is going to get reps at first and third this spring. Noelvi Marte might get sent down. They're stuck with Candelario for another year. Candelario is going to play, but point is there's a lot of ways they can move this around and make it work still.
Yeah, my one thing I'm not going to do this offseason is worry about the Reds having too many infield options because that was an absurd commentary last year, and by May 1st they had
by me, maybe? Yeah.
I think all of us did it. We're like, they can't fit all these guys, and May 1st they're playing a bunch of guys that we didn't even expect them to play. So it's stuff usually works out, especially when you got that many spots you're trying to maneuver around. But that's good on McLain. I think him playing one position is a good thing. I think he's too important. And you mentioned the Senzel thing. This last thing you want to do is put him in that bucket ever.
Yeah, I agree. Just number 2 overall pick, just wasted. And McLain wasn't as high. He's still a first round pick, but didn't have that high of expectation coming in. But he's actually been better at the big league level, so I want to see it.
Yeah, he was really, really good in 2023. Ronald Acuna made a comment on Friday that he's planning to, quote, take it easy on the bases, which obviously is probably a smart thing, but a massively important thing for fantasy leagues and where to draft Acuna. He's going to miss the first however many be weeks of the season. Maybe he comes back early May or late April, whatever it may be. But if he's taking it easy on the bases, how do we handle this? I know you and I talked a couple of years ago when he had the huge year, like, oh, maybe he's not going to run anymore with his legs. And obviously he stole 73 bases. Do you believe him? How much do you factor in this comment that, because if he steals 25 bases, his value is way different than it is if he steals 45.
Well, then wait till you get a load of my projection then, because I've got him for like 15 or 16. I've got him at
that answers my question then.
I was already a little bit of a skeptic, and then the fact that they've kind of been saying they're going to ease him in. He won't be ready for opening day. He had struggles in his first year back from his other ACL. Now it was the other leg. He had 29 that year, I think, if I recall correctly. But he had like other issues dealing with that. Didn't have a good year at the plate. Had a 764 OPS that year. I just think that there's some things to kind of like ease in. I'm not going to pay the NFBC price on him, which is at the end of the second round. At least I'm not right now. And this note doesn't really change that. I was already going to do that. I mean, we're talking about maybe missing a month with him.
Yeah. I'd probably ballpark in late April, May 1st, something like that. But it'd be interesting to see how his ADP moves. It's 32 right now. I'm just looking at the last month in draft champions leagues, so like 15 team leagues. He's picked 32. I wonder if him saying he's going to take it easy maybe drops him down a few spots there.
I think it should, but we'll see.
Jeff, the Angels came out and said that their top 3 in their order is going to be Taylor Ward, Mike Trout, and Jorge Soler in some order. Just interesting that Zach Neto's coming back from an injury. Maybe he's not going to be in the top 3 to start. How do you feel about these 3 guys? Because it feels like if Ward's going to hit 1, Soler's going to hit 3, they become a little more interesting pretty quick. I
think that's their best 3 hitters. So makes sense to have them at the top of the order in some sort of order there. Yeah, I have no problem with that. I think Neto should be given some, longer leash to kind of get back up to speed with the injury/surgery that they've been very nondescript in describing.
Yep. Yeah, I'd worry about that one, but it's fine, Jeff. They signed Tim Anderson to a non-roster invite deal, so they're covered.
Oh, they're covered, and they're covered for Rendon also with Yohan Moncada, which he's definitely going to hold up, so we're good there. They also have Kevin Newman and Scott Kingery. I had to put a projection in for Scott Kingery, Scott, and I'm like, this is my projection. I don't know.
That team's horrible.
It is. The weird thing is they tried though too. They did try this offseason. I don't know what their plan is, but they tried. I mean, they traded for Soler.
They signed Kikuchi.
They signed Kenley Jansen. All that's not been officially announced yet. Just something to watch out for there.
Oh, really? I thought that was. I saw it on Twitter.
It's not like officially official. I think they need.
I saw the Ben Joyce drafters just freaking out, so I assumed it was official.
Yeah, I mean it's done. It just has to. I think there might be like I just think it needs to be signed/announced officially or whatever press conference. They went out and they got Kyle Hendricks too. Okay, whatever. But the point is they were adding in a division where the Seattle Mariners haven't done jack this offseason. The Houston Astros have been shedding to get under the luxury tax threshold. That's why they traded away Kyle Tucker. The A's have been required to add players, but they might actually make them a credible team. And the Rangers have been adding, but they're also stopping short of the threshold themselves and thus not adding a real closer.
14 minutes in, Jeff. Are we just calling them the A's? Are we calling them the Athletics? Are we calling them Sac? What the heck are we calling them?
Hey, you're the former A's fan. You call them what you want. They're calling themselves the Athletics without a Sacramento involved. I'll believe Las Vegas when they break ground in Las Vegas. That hasn't happened.
I agree completely. I think they're kind of a fun little offense though. There's some interesting names in there. I have no idea. I mean, they traded for Jeffrey Springs. They signed Luis Severino. They were pretty active considering how inactive they had been for multiple years. It's they signed Jose Leclerc recently too. Like it's a very strange setup, but they seem like they're sort of trying.
Yeah, and I think it's because they're getting all this rev share money. They were forced to pay this year.
Yeah,
a little bit. Just the get that up to a certain threshold level, aka above the Pirates, who are also doing nothing this offseason.
Yeah, it's been a weird offseason of the Dodgers doing everything and everybody else just kind of sitting and watching. But a couple of Mets notes I was going to throw out there real quick. Brandon Nimmo, the foot is feeling good. That's pretty big there because he'll be a top half of the order guy for the Mets. I saw the quote was interesting. He said he's running at 91% of his top speed. That was his quote.
I'm sure that's how he was timed, right? It had to be like a timing mechanism.
Yeah,
that was
an amazing little blurb there. General spring training question. Francisco Alvarez came in. Apparently, he's retooled his swing mechanics. How do you handle these kind of updates? It's a little bit different than best shape of my life, which I think we mostly kind of ignore. How do you deal with like someone actually changing something? Are you looking for some spring training results? Are you looking for maybe it looks different? How do you handle someone like this who actually like seems like they did something different in the offseason?
Well, that's just the thing. Like, I think this happens like on a regular basis. Players adjust their swing mechanics all the time. So is it like a big overhaul in his swing? Is it? It
sounded like he retooled it. He went to the guy that JD Martinez recommended he go to a hitting coach, and he went to the hitting coach and worked on some retooled stuff. And when JD did that, like he had a huge season afterwards. So it's mildly interesting, but I mean, you don't want to read too much into it too, because JD Martinez is pretty darn good anyway.
So I was already kind of on Alvarez because he comes pretty cheaply, like catcher 10, catcher 11.
Me too.
23. There's plenty, and he doesn't turn 24 until November. So, you're talking about a guy that's had 2 years in the bigs already. He was hurt most of the year last year. Last year is a big write-off for me. I think there could be an exponential leap here.
I like it too. He's likely to be a target for me at the catcher position. Last note before we jump into some intriguing post 200 hitters, Felix Bautista. How are you hitting this one in draft season? He says he's throwing it 85% right now in spring training. He's confident he'll be 100% by opening day. How much of this do you believe? Do you think they throw him in the closer role? Is he closing, day one? How do you feel about Bautista kind of health-wise rolling into spring training here?
I got to admit, Scott, I'm a little circumspect. He's not going to pitch in any spring training games until late in spring. So this is pretty much a leap of faith. We're not going to be able to see him. We're going to have to rely on like backfield reports or what the Orioles tell us and what he tells us. But it's different pitching in games than it is on, sessions and things of that nature. I want to believe that he's going to be his old self, but it did move him. I moved him down like 5 saves as a result of this. I wonder if early on in the season, he might be a little bit more expensive, because the thing is he's getting drafted as, if not the top tier closers, definitely an upper part of the second tier closers. And there's a lot of opportunity cost when you take him that early.
For sure. His ADP right now, the last month is 57. Maybe it dips a little bit if he doesn't pitch in the first couple weeks of spring training, but he's going to right in that 4th, 5th round range at a 15-teamer. You got to be pretty sure if you're going to take him at that spot. You're passing up really good players.
Right.
I think about Bautista, he's really, really good if he's healthy. I mean, he was 1.48 ERA, 0.92 WHIP. I mean, the dude is unbelievably good, but it's you're right. The leap of faith is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. So I'm looking February 1st through the 16th. And Bautista's average pick is more like 80. So that's a little bit more reasonable. Goes slightly after Raisel Iglesias. I prefer Iglesias. Goes before Andres Munoz, before Joan Duran. Is that the right range for him? And do you have a preferred order in that?
I mean, I'm looking at DCs in the last month. His latest pick was 68.
Well, DCs are different.
Changed.
DCs are going to push up closers because you can't do any pickups. There's no free loot.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So I did all that. But if we do, but here, let's look at DCs. It is a little bit different.
Either way, in that same range of guys.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big jump up.
It is a big jump up.
It's like 25 picks. Just a reminder, if you're going to do a draft champions or any other draft and hold format, bump up your closers, especially if you want one of the first 2 tiers. I learned the hard way in the Casey Chav Vlad draft. I got punished on that one there a little bit.
But you're right, though. There's no like, I'll just grab one in Fab in May and solve those problems. I mean, you got to get your guy at some point because you can't pick him up. You're right.
Right. And we'll talk more closers later because I'm going to ask you at some point who you're going to elevate into that tier when we get into closer madness at the main event.
We will. Yeah, we will definitely do it. We'll definitely do a closer episode before drafts in March, but we will definitely get there. But let's talk late hitters today. I think it's a fun topic to get into. So it's a good bunch to talk about here. But first, a note from our sponsors at Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, offering the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. Coming from another service, Fantrax makes it easy. Fantrax can import any of your current leagues and customize if needed. I can tell you personally that Fantrax does some really cool stuff. I play in a 30-team NBA Dynasty League on there, so a wild league there. And I also played a college football league on there, so Fantrax can really do all kinds of interesting stuff. It offers the most in-depth player pool in the industry, including minor league players. Do you need a customizable commissioner service for your fantasy league? Fantrax offers more customization than any other platform. Waivers, categories, scoring system, schedule. Fantrax offers custom solutions for all that and more, and is all free. Sign up for free today and be entered to win an official MLB signed jersey from Vladimir Guerrero. Simply go to fantrax.com/RotoWire to sign up today. That's fantrax.com/RotoWire. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. So, Jeff, I'm going to go we'll go from pick 200 and go down. And so I just kind of started with 200 and went that way. Thinking intriguing hitters, maybe not guys that are targets or fades, but there's going to be some of those in here. But guys who's, as I was scrolling through names, kind of jumped out to me. The first is Heliot Ramos with the Giants. He had a big breakout in 2024, 22 home runs, hit 269. Big hard hit numbers, 47.5% hard hit, 14.5% barrel. Really good numbers. I mean, he's 11th in majors in barrel rate, 27th in hard hit rate. Those are elite numbers right there. Puts him among the elite guys. But a lot of strikeouts, 26% there. Had a pretty good BABIP at 330. How do you feel about Ramos? ADP right now is about 208. So we're talking like the 14th round of 15-teamer.
Yeah, and this range is littered with giants. Is one thing I've noticed. There's Ramos, there's Fitzgerald, Jung Hoo Lee, Patrick Bailey, all sorts of guys that are, because they don't have too many hitting stars. They have Adames and Chapman are the only two hitters that go above 200. So that kind of tells you about the Giants offense as a whole. But I like Ramos. Again, I think the ballpark is going to always limit him and anybody that puts on that uniform. But I do have him slightly above ADP. If you use the custom rankings at RotoWire right now and use the draft champion setting, he comes at 187. So not like a huge windfall or anything, but it's a little higher. And what I like about him is that there's some power, not as much speed as you'd like, but he's also at his age 24 season, he was able to accomplish this. So there might be like a 10 stolen base season in there somewhere. I wouldn't count on it. I project 7. But I think he can hit for some average. I think he's going to hit high in the lineup. And I think this is a team that's getting incrementally better. I think, adding Adames is going to make that lineup stronger all the way around.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys, the 26% strikeout definitely jumps out. But as you see a lot of these guys down here, you get numbers that are even higher than that. And he dropped it. I know his 2023 was a small sample. He did drop it from 33% down there. If he gets down to like 23, 24%, he gets really interesting really fast. I love the hard contact. I think he's a really good spot in here. 14, 15 round. If you need some pop, I think that I'd take the over on the 22 home runs from last year. He'll play more games. I think he'll be in the lineup a bunch for them. I think he'll hit in the middle of the order too. I think he's a really good price here. Someone that if I need some pop, I'm grabbing him right there. Yeah,
and to your point, Ramos didn't get the call up until May 19th, so he had 22 homers from May 19th and beyond. So yeah, I kind of get it. I'm with you on this one here, and I'm gonna bump up his playing time in our projection right now as we speak.
I was about to say I'm going to jump across the bay, but it doesn't work anymore to get to Sacramento.
It's a pretty big jump.
It's a pretty big jump. It's not the prettiest drive either. You're going to get to Zack Gelof, ADP 211, 212, right in there for the A's. Rough 2024. This is a guy that was super hyped after his really, really nice debut in 2023. Hit 211 last year, but still 17 home runs, 25 stolen bases. So there's some good there. The rest of it I don't love. His hard hit rate dropped. He was 37% hard hit rate. Barrel rate dropped under 9%. He's got a really bad StatCast page, like nothing over 60th percentile. His xWOBA and xBA are under like the 5th percentile. They're really bad. K rate is a big problem. We talked about Ramos, 26% a little bit high, but maybe you can be fine there. Gelof was 34.5% last year, like among the leaders. Huge swinging strike rate too. Like it wasn't fluky. He swung and missed 18% of the time. The power speed combo here is pretty sexy, pretty interesting, but man, the strikeouts scare me a ton with Gelof.
Yeah, and that's the thing. 225, 230 is in range of him kind of jumping back up to a little bit, but 190 is also attainable for him, and 190 sends him down to the minors. Who is their affiliate now, by the way? If they're playing in Sacramento, who?
Las Vegas still.
Oh, it's still Las Vegas. That's right.
Yeah.
Who plays in Who plays in Sac Town?
The Giants.
Giants do, and they're going to keep that, right? Like they're going to split the park. Yeah. It's so wild.
Yeah.
So weird.
We have 2 major league teams playing in minor league stadiums this year. It's crazy.
Yep. It is. It is. I do. I struggle with Gelof. I think he's one of those guys that if you're really hurting for kind of some, you either, because the thing is, if you've got batting average pretty well in command, you don't want to spoil it with him. But the flip side is sometimes you need to chase that category juice. I'm trying to figure out the scenario where I best like him. I'm trying to avoid the really low batting average guys. So I'll probably avoid Gelof. But also take a look at second base, or don't take a look at second base. It's pretty ugly. Avert your eyes. I think there's
one guy in the top like 60 ADP at second base.
Yeah. And you're right about that. Although maybe I think it's like there might be a couple, but it's close. Yeah. Altuve's 57. Yeah.
Okay. So in the top 50, there's one guy. There's Ketel Marte, and that's it.
And I find him a little overpriced too, by the way. And there's only like 4 or 5 guys in the top 100, depending on what you do with Marcus Semien, which is just crazy too. Keep in mind, Mookie Betts doesn't qualify at second base for our purposes. You need 20 games. He played 18.
Just short and outfield. Yeah.
Yep. So, you got Semien, McLain, but there's only like 13 second basemen in the top 200 for that matter. Yep. So Gelof's going to be a rosterable guy somewhere. Nico Horner is going to be a rosterable guy somewhere, and he can't hit for power, but maybe he'll hit for average. I mean, it's a very interesting and kind of tough position this year. So are you going after one of the premier second basemen? Do you think you'll go and get that so you don't have to worry about fishing down below, or are you comfortable with some of these like 200 range guys?
I'm comfortable with some of the 200 guys. I don't think I'll take Ketel Marte, star of the Target episode last year, by the way. That was actually a good call we had. But like as you go down, I like Westberg. I kind of like McLain. I like Semien at the new price, but there's not a ton of guys. Like I'm not drafting Bryce Terang. I don't love Luis Garcia Jr. You kind of just got to find somebody in the middle. I think we'll have to, as we do more and get into some names and some targets, we'll probably find some guys. We're going to talk about a couple more later, but I'm okay. If I don't get Westberg or McLain, I'm okay waiting and just kind of finding somebody there. But the person who asked the question, we're using NFBC ADP draft champions for the last month, the numbers I'm using at least, just to kind of get a close ballpark. But I think I'm out on Gelof. Do you have any sort of thought or opinion or feeling on how the Sacramento ballpark is going to play?
So it's going to obviously be better than Oakland. Yes. It's like 10 degrees warmer, maybe more, depending at the heat of the summer. B, less foul territory, and C, the dimensions. However, compared to other AAA ballparks, it ranked like 29th out of 30th in home runs last year. But that's compared against the launching pads of the PCL. Yeah. It's compared to other AAA ballparks. I remember when Buffalo was considered not such a relative to other AAA ballparks hitting ballpark, and the Blue Jays raked there. Dunedin, they raked there. So, I mean, I just think that even your average AAA ballpark is going to be better than a major league ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a big factor in looking at some of these A's guys because they're going from you mentioned the foul territory. People always talk about the depth in the outfield. That foul territory killed batting average.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's like a Brent Rooker who already improved his batting average last year. I mean, you hate locking up your DH, your UT spot early on, but lock it up, man. I'm on board with getting him because he's going to gain that outfield eligibility this year too, most likely.
Yeah, I think he'll get there too. Let's see, Josh Jung next, moving to Texas. He's obviously a big prospect. Only 46 games last year. He hit 264 with 7 home runs. Hard hit rate dropped a little bit, so maybe that's a little bit of concern there too. OBP was under 300 when he did play. I know it was a small sample, but hard hit rate dropped under 40%. He was 2370 though in 2023 across 515 plate appearances. He had a really good first full year in the majors. Dropped his K rate a little bit. Where are you on him at the moment?
I like that he came back last year. Because usually that period after a player comes back from a wrist injury is pretty barren. And that was the case with Young. He didn't hit for much power. I mean, he did okay, slugged 421, but I think that helps him for this year. I'm a little concerned that, he of just the risks that are involved with him health-wise, but he's not hurt now. He's full go. They said this back in January, and we can believe anything a team says. So we're fine because nobody ever lies about health. So sorry. Just to make sure, that's sarcasm font.
Yes.
But
I got it.
Yeah, I knew you got it.
Yeah.
'Cause you're a very smart human being, and you know me. But I haven't heard
that lineup's kind of deep though. Like I don't know where he hits.
Is that such a bad thing?
It's a really good thing, but like you look at roster rearms, they have Jake Burger hitting 8th right now. Like I don't think that's gonna happen. But if Young hits 8th, then maybe it does matter. But I don't know, that lineup kind of 1 through 7, 1 through 8 is pretty darn good.
I'm looking at RotoWire's batting orders page.
I guess that's against righties though, because Jock Peterson will hit in the middle against righties, and then Burger will move up against lefties. So I guess that maybe Burger's down there against righties.
I kind of depends on what they do with Adolis Garcia. I mean, we currently have Garcia 5, Young 6, Burger 7, Hyman, Carter 8, 9, but Carter could even bat leadoff. They're talking about as a possibility. Yep. And it looks like Carter will only play against righties also, so that's noteworthy. But against lefties, Young is batting 5th, and they got Burger 6 for that matter. So for whatever that's worth, it's early, things can change, but just that the Peterson thing, yeah, he murders right-handed pitching, so you get him in the middle of that lineup.
Burger's got 63 home runs the last 2 years. I think he's probably hitting 5th or 6th.
I think you're probably right about that too.
And they signed, or they traded for him. Like I don't think he's hitting 7th and 8th, but you never know. The point is that lineup is the lineup's pretty darn good through 7 or 8 guys.
Yeah. And comment in the chat, and Ted's mentioned this before about Wyatt Langford not hitting righties. I want to say, let's push back against this a little bit here, because he's played 134 games in the big league level. He had 1 year in the minors. I don't think this has been litigated. I think he didn't hit well against righties last year. It doesn't mean he can't. I think that I think I need to see more sample before I can conclusively state can't hit righties. So I'm gonna push back a little bit on the Langford comment.
And he still had 100 WRC plus against righties. It's not like he was horrendous. I mean, he was better against lefties for sure. But yeah, 23, first time through the league, struggled early. I'm definitely not sticking him in the can't hit righties bucket yet.
Yep.
Moving to Miami, a lineup that I talked about. I forget who we talked about earlier, but that bad lineup, man. I looked at Miami's lineup. This lineup's bad. It's really
purposefully
rough,
bad. I mean, they're tearing it down. They've got the GM who is a former Rays front office guy. It's his kind of like it's his canvas to paint on, and paint he will. So I mean, you're stacking in all these young guys, and hopefully you strike gold like you did with Xavier Edwards last year. Maybe not. I don't know how sustainable that is. Well, we can talk about that at some point. Connor Norby, they're adding all these young guys, and they're hoping to strike on a couple of them. And meanwhile, they're going to get all these early draft picks. I expect you're going to see them trade away Sandy Alcantara. I think you'll trade away Edward Cabrera at some point in time. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But I think they at least have a palpable plan.
Talk about a stream against team if you need to pick up a pitcher though each week. Like there should be some sweet pitching games against them. But I do want to talk about Jesus Sanchez, who is their 3-hitter at the moment. Pretty good year last year. And the sneaky thing was he stole 16 bases. He had never topped 3 stolen bases in a year before. He had 16 last year to go with the 18 home runs, hit 252. This is a guy that just makes a ton of hard contact. 51% last year, 12% barrel rate. He's got a really good StatCast profile, except for the strikeouts. Strikeouts are too high. He's at 26%. But again, not a Zack Gelof kind of guy, but his chase rate and his whiff rate are bad too. They're under 50% percentile. So I think the Ks are going to be there. The key with Sanchez is the fly balls. If he could just elevate the fly balls, he's under 30% fly ball rate the last 2 years. It's kept his home runs down. He's a guy that hits the ball so hard that, he shouldn't have 18 home runs, but fly ball rate under 30%, it's hard to hit a ton of home runs. If he got to 35, 36%, this is a guy that could really, the home runs would come really quick.
Yeah, they could. And I will caution though, that usually hard hit rates track more with low line drives and hard ground balls than they do with fly balls. So that might not translate if he starts elevating it a little bit more. The other thing is the stolen bases you mentioned, 16 after 3 the year before that. And his sprint speed was like 46th percentile. So it didn't really support all those stolen bases. But he's a smarter base runner too. So maybe that's part of it there too. You see this sometimes that these players can get savvy. They learn how to read pitchers a little bit better. And when they do that, that you can steal like 10 bags. You can, literally like, you steal it off the pitcher there.
Yeah. The 16 was a big jump. If he does that again, he's pretty interesting. I've always liked him as a pure hitter. I just like the hard contact. You wish he could elevate a little more. But I think he's interesting. I think that he's hitting third. He's going to play every single day. I think he's going to play against lefties. Even, they send him to pass against lefties. I don't think they have any reason to bench him or platoon him. I think he's just someone that's going to get 600 plate appearances, hit in the middle of an order that's not very good. But I think that like 23, 12, 13, something like that's in play.
Yep. It is. It's just that lineup around him is going to be so bad. Just read a note that De Los Santos is going to start the year in the minors probably so they can manage the service time, which means we might not see him till June. I want to see more out of Devison De Los Santos, but it looks like he's going to begin the year. I would say at least 6 weeks down there because they get that extra year of service time. I think they're the type of team that's going to exactly do that, play games with service time.
They got Jonah Bride hitting cleanup right now. That's not really exciting.
Not great, Bob.
It's not great at all. You mentioned we had a few Giants in this list. Tyler Fitzgerald, ADP is 239. Had a really good breakout last year. 15 home runs, 17 stolen bases, only 341 plate appearances. Hit 280. I'm going to let you go first on Tyler Fitzgerald because I have a fairly strong opinion on whether I'm taking him or not.
All right. Todd Zola and I were talking about him and don't like the approach. That's what the thing that's kind of scary about Tyler Fitzgerald. I mean, the output was wonderful. The Ks are Gelofian. That I'm kind of concerned about that. 32% last year in K percentage. I think you're gonna see some regress to what sort of stuff going on here. I like the sprint speed.
Yeah, 100th percentile.
Exit velocity wasn't that great though either. I kind of feel like the combination of the strikeouts, the low exit velocity, the low hard hit rate, 32.7% ground ball percentage. I think that's going to hurt batting average wise. You hit fly balls. That's usually good, I guess, but I don't think the 280 holds up.
Yeah, I'm pretty out on this profile. Usually we talk about guys with high strikeout rates and at least they hit the ball really hard. Man, he's 13th percentile hard hit rate. The stolen bases do look legit. You mentioned the sprint speed, 100th percentile last year. So I think if you need stolen bases, maybe you can work down here. But man, his expected batting average was 227 last year. His BABIP was 380. Like that's just a huge number. That's never going to happen again. I think he probably ends up hitting down the lineup now that they've added Adames. Obviously, Chapman's still there. I do not like this hitting profile. I'm not sure he can hit.
Yeah, he hit 280 somehow, but 22 walks, 108 Ks, and the hard hit rate that didn't have it. Just he caught a heater for like a month, and it was great. But is that sustainable? I doubt it.
Yeah, if you're going to strike out that much, you better at least hit the ball hard when you hit it.
Yep.
Another guy here who you put in here, Brandon. It's Brandon Lowe. I always mess this up. Brandon Lowe. Brandon Lowe. ADP is about 230. With the Rays here, moving into another guy that's moving into a minor league ballpark. Last year was 244, 12, 58, 425 plate appearances. I think we're kind of at the same spot with Lowe. He always, almost always sits against lefties. He only had 72 plate appearances against lefties last year. The Rays are not as deep as they used to be, though. He used to platoon a lot more, and he's going to probably hit second against righties. Where do you kind of fall on Lowe at the moment?
I kind of like getting him late. I like him as my middle, and it's because of the ballpark change. It's because they're playing in Steinbrenner Field, which it's supposed to mimic Yankee Stadium in terms of dimensions. Although I think because it's down in Florida, it's hotter, more humid, the ball's going to carry a little bit more too. So I like getting Brandon Lowe. He's on the good side of the platoon. I don't, and keep in mind, he missed a lot of time too last year, and that's part of it. But I think you're getting that discounted properly.
Yeah, sometimes he's tough to figure out, when to play him. I think if he faces two lefties in a half period, like in NFBC, you get half week periods. Facing three righties, you get him in there. you're right. It's the injuries. He's had over 450 plate appearances once in his career. He's only had over 21 home runs once, but that year he had 615 plate appearances. He had 39 home runs in 2021. So it was a massive year. Hard contact plus fly balls, usually a pretty good sign that he's gonna hit some home runs. Just a matter if he's on the field or not.
Yep, it is. But I think also you get replacement value. If he does get hurt, he's your middle. He's not your starting second baseman. Make sure he's not your starting second baseman. Have somebody else in front of him.
And the key is you got to have a backup middle anyway. So make sure it's someone you can slot in there, because there are going to be weeks where you don't want to play him facing 2 or 3 lefties, and it's just you got to make sure you plan for that.
Yep.
We got a bunch more hitters to talk about, but first, a note from our sponsor, Edge Boost. Have you ever had your debit card declined or had to call your bank at 3 a.m. in Vegas? That's a bad feeling. Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online bank dedicated to the gaming industry. There are numerous benefits to using Edge Boost. $250,000 per day in debit deposits, unlimited withdrawals, cash back on sports betting, DFS, and sweeps, 100% approval for all gaming activity, financial segmentation for discretion and responsible gaming, compatible today for prediction markets, iCasino, DFS, sports betting, lottery, brick-and-mortar casinos, horse racing, and sweeps. No transaction reviews or account freezes. Visit edgeboost.bet today and use promo code ROTOPOD. That's promo code ROTOPOD. So, Jeff, I got one more giant in here. Jung Hoo Lee, who sorry, go ahead.
I said, of course we do.
Oh, of course we do.
The range.
It is the range. 240 on his ADP. We only got 37 games of Jung Hoo Lee last year. He hit 262, 2 home runs, 2 steals. Obviously, he got hurt right away, and we just didn't get to see much. He was interesting last year. He just a huge batting average across his career in the Korean League. He had 23 home runs in 2022, but I think we're safe to say he's going to be a batting average runs guy, especially he leads off. Maybe it's second or third for the Giants, but top half of the order, it sounds like. Bonkers strikeout rates. He was 8.2% last year. He was in the 5s and 6s in Korea. So it's a crazy contact rate. But where do you fall on Lee this year? I think we're looking at, you hope he hits high, you get some runs, some batting average, but you're not probably getting, not really getting much pop here either.
Well, that's the thing is, can he hit the ball with a little bit more authority? I think that we didn't see the best of Jung Hoo Lee last year. I think before he got hurt that, he was adjusting to the major leagues. I think there's another level in him. And I want to, I think I want to have at least a share or two of them, because I think he can provide it. It's not going to, I think he'll hit with the ball with a little bit more authority than we have seen so far, but he won't run as much as you think he will. I've got him for like 7 stolen bases. I think he can get double-digit homers. I think if he bats high in that lineup, and there's some talk that he might bat third.
Yep.
I think that's okay. Compare that versus Fitzgerald, which more can get you maybe more category goodness from homers and stolen bases if everything goes right. I think Lee will probably be less counted upon that, but I think he's a better hitter. And I think with that comes the better chances, and he's better defensively. I think he's pretty good defensively too. And that's going to buy him some times and some playoff time, like some playing time there.
I don't think 12 to 15 steals are out of the realm of possibility. I know he hasn't done it a lot, even at Korea he didn't, but he's got a 79th percentile sprint speed. Like, I think if he wants to steal, 10, 12, 15, I think it could be there. But, if he runs, he's really interesting. Batting average, I think he'll be there. And if he hits third, a hit between Adames and Chapman's a pretty darn good spot.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. So, yeah, I think I want him.
I think I do. I do too. Definitely for me. Over Fitzgerald, I know the different positions and all that, but I think that I would do head to head. We're talking, fourth outfielder or a middle. I think I'm going Jung Hoo Lee there for sure. Guy I want to ask you about, because I have no idea what to do here. I'm going to fully admit that with Jackson Holliday in Baltimore. Obviously the massively hyped prospect. He was the number 1 prospect on a lot of lists. He was brutal in the majors. Hit 189, 33% strikeout rate. His strikeout rates were like 10% lower in AAA. He played 73 games there, hit 271. He just couldn't hit. He got into a rut. You could see him pressing. Like he couldn't do anything for a while there. It was rough. But first time up, he's 21 years old now. Like he was 20 last year. Swinging strike rate was 13%, but it's under 10% in the minors. So that's a pretty good sign that maybe he just, you could tell he was pressing. Should be a full-time job, and maybe hitting 9th, though that's a really deep lineup as well. What are you doing with Holliday? ADP is 243, so not especially early. The hype's off a little bit. What do you do with someone like this? It's not even post-hype because he's still pretty hyped, but what do you do with someone who struggled this much? A lot of guys struggle the first time up.
Yeah, and I get the feeling he was rushed. Like they really kind of advanced him too quickly. I know he made it all the way to AAA at the end of 2023. He kind of like went like half, he blazed through like 4 different levels in 2023, and I almost wonder if that was too quick. He was, but maybe he should have spent some more time there. I know we were all clamoring for him to get called up sooner and all these young Orioles prospects, but maybe he should have spent some more time down there. I think the range of outcomes in this year include him being amazing and great, having the year 2 bump like Westberg did, and also getting sent down. I mean, I think it could go, it ranges that far and wide. I think he's a fun guy to take a chance on. I have a feeling if he's having a good spring that he's going to rocket up these ADPs, and this discussion will no longer be relevant, at least according to the price, and to the point where it might be prohibitively expensive because we're looking for second baseman. We're looking for difference makers at this position. We talked about how barren the position is in terms of guys that could be a huge difference. Because I mean, look at the sprint speed, 95th percentile on sprint speed, even with all of his struggles. That could translate into a 40 stolen base season. It might not. You actually have to get on base for that to happen, but it's that possibility is there.
Yeah, he had a 442 OBP in the minors in 2023. So this is someone that like really got on base. He's a really huge walk guy, at least in the minors. I know he was in the majors, but should get on base a lot. You're right. It's he's one of those. He's very, very could be great or could be in the minors. There's no way in hell if he's looking even remotely okay in spring training, he's a pick 240 at least in main events. Like someone is going to jump up 3-4 rounds from that. There's just someone that's going to do it. I don't
easily. Maybe more.
Yeah, I don't think DC ADP is going to play here at all. So if we're looking at 240, but would you take him at, I'd say, I'm not going to say he's got 8 home runs in spring, but if he looks fine, he's going to have a job. He looks okay. Or you take him at pick 180. What are you going to do here?
Man, putting me on the spot because I don't know.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I mean, I will pay attention to the K to walk in the spring. I think that is predictive. That does matter. You see, if guys are striking out in the spring, they're going to strike out in the regular season. So that's something he could be hitting 340 out because he's just ripping the cover off the ball against these AA and AAA pitchers later in games. But if he's still swinging and missing a lot, then I'm probably not going to pay that price. Make sense?
I think the key for it does make sense. The key for me is that even if he gets hyped a little bit, he's not getting hyped to like the 5th, 6th round. We're talking still talking 12th, 13th, 14th round. That's if he flies up the board. I think I'm willing to take a shot here. I think that it depends on just how much he flies, but in that range, I think I'm willing to take a shot. I think there'll be someone that could be a difference maker. You're not paying a price that if he doesn't work out, you're getting killed either.
What if he's hitting like 330 with 5 homers and 5 stolen bases, but he's got 2 walks and 10 Ks?
Then someone's going to not notice that. He's going to go pick at 150, and I won't have him.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the strikeout to walk is actually really important because that was his biggest issue in the majors, the fact that he was just striking. He was striking out a ton, and that's not something he did throughout his entire. I say entire. He's 21 years old, but throughout his minor league career, the first couple of years.
Right on.
Completely other side of the page. I got an old veteran here that had a bad year. We've had a lot of young guys, kind of year 2 guys, but George Springer, he has tumbled down the ADP. He was someone that I think was like 6th, 7th round last year. He hit 220, did have 19 home runs, 16 stolen bases, 614 plate appearances. Hard hit rate fell down under 40% to 37%. Barrel rate is up a little bit. K rate's still really good. He's someone that just doesn't strike out a ton. 3 straight years under 19%. The thing that I like here is his career BABIP is 294. It was 245 last year, so he did have some unlucky stuff going on there. Still fast enough that the BABIP should bounce back. He was 72% sprint speed last year. Should still lead off for Toronto. That's going to be a pretty good spot still. I think I'm all over Springer at pick 244. I don't know if he'll last that long in a main event, but I just think the floor feels pretty darn good here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he continues at that rate, I think we're going to start to see some attrition in terms of players getting hurt and all that. I'm lukewarm on Springer, but which means he's probably the perfect type of value. My projections agree with you, so maybe I should be more enthused by him.
What's your projection on? I'm curious.
Projections got him for 244, 21 homers and 17 stolen bases. That's definitely for the price. That price, that's
that
good.
Kills a pick 244 right there for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm in.
And the runs have to be there if he's hitting leadoff. Like he can almost fall into 85 runs, but He's got to not hit 220. And if he hits 245, which I think even with like a regular BABIP, even if it's not great, I think he hits 245, 250, and he kind of falls into place with all the other stats at that moment.
Now, the problem is if last year was the start of the cliff, and instead
that is the issue. He is 30. Was he 35? 35.
35. So what if instead I've got him 21 and 17? What if it's like 14 and 10, all of a sudden, you really need like 90 runs for that to kind of counteract that. Maybe you don't, but I'm just saying there is a just completely Jose Abreu fall off possibility here.
Yep. Ooh, that was a good one right there. I don't want that comp. Though.
Different position, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Then age hits everybody at some point. I do think the 16 steals last year give me some hope that he was fast enough. Also at pick 240, like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I just think I think the floor is really good, and if you notice in middle of May that maybe he's just old, then maybe you can just drop him at that point. But I think I think that's very likely he goes 245. 2017, and that's going to work no matter what there.
Yeah. A lot of red in the hard hit metrics though. Not great, but the speed metrics were good.
The hard hit's going the wrong direction. I don't love that. I do like that he doesn't strike out very much. I just think he's always been he's like a career 294 BABIP guy. The 245 sticks out. That's just going to bounce back.
Yep.
Another guy who struggled. We got a lot of last year's bums on here. Nolan Jones.
Yeah.
Nolan Jones, 247 was very hyped last year after 2020 and 2023 and only 106 games and playing in Coors Field. Everybody loved Nolan Jones at some level last year, but it was brutal. 227, 3 home runs, 5 steals, only played 79 games. We were both off him last year, I believe. I think he was on our fade show just because the strikeouts was such a massive issue.
Right.
What do you do with someone like this? He's still playing in Coors. He's still going to play as long as he's healthy. We saw the bad last year. We always saw the really good in 2023. What are you doing on Nolan Jones now? And his new price, because the price is way different than it was last year.
Yeah, I'm in on the price. Give me the guy. He's going at pick 60 last year, and now he's going 250.
Crazy.
Sure, I'll take a chance in Coors Field with that. Why not?
Yeah, I don't love the profile, but I do really love the price. I mean, it's just such a huge difference. I mean, why we didn't like him last year was the price. It was just the profile with the price was a massive thing. His BABIP the year before was 401. Obviously, we knew the batting average was coming down, but you're right. It's still Coors. He was hurt, and the fly ball rate crashed. And I think if that bounces back, you'll get the home runs. I picked 250. It seems like a shot that it's kind of no risk at this point.
I've got him at 204 in the latest roundtable rankings that we did. Myself, Clay, Todd,
you like him then for sure.
Holtzman. So yeah, I like him at 250.
Yeah, I think it works there. It is you really gotta not let last year's stuff seep in if you liked a guy last year because the prices. I mean, you're talking a 200 pick difference.
Yeah.
We talked about the Marlins earlier. We mentioned some of their young guys. Connor Norby was one of the guys that was dealt. He was dealt from the Orioles to the Marlins. He was okay last year. Hit 236, 9 home runs. Was really good in the minors. 17 home runs, 13 stolen bases, 440 plate appearances. His impressive barrel rate. His barrel rate's 14.8%, higher than Bobby Witt, higher than Yordan Alvarez. He'd be top 15 if he qualified in at bats last year. Should start at third. Should hit second. We've talked about the fact the Marlins lineup is awful. Just strikes out a lot. Strikeouts are an issue. He was 30% in the majors last year. The problem was he was 28.5% in the minors too. So it's not like you see a lot of guys that jump up 8-10% when they go to the majors.
Right.
He struck out a lot in the minors also.
Yeah, he did. And then you added the lineup context there, and that's the spot that makes that tough. I mean, I think he's going about the right price. If I need a corner that late, sure, but it's not a target. I'm not going to reach for him. If a guy is, and that's just the thing, like, because I have other guys that I like that are above ADP, I'm going to be taking those. But if Norby is in my individual draft and he slips 20 points below ADP, okay, then I need the bargain take on him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Kind of where I am too. I thought I would like him a little more, but those the strikeouts do worry me a little bit. Someone asked in the chat if you go Nolan Jones over Michael Toglia. You said Jones a little bit of speed. I think I'd go Toglia just because of the hard contact. I'm pretty fired up about it. He was a 17% barrel rate guy last year, but another guy that strikes out a freaking ton.
Yeah, I should actually qualify that. Oh, I've got him right about the same spot.
Okay.
And the fact is that Toglia is going to play first base. So yeah. First base, that's a positive.
Career 33% strikeout rate in the majors though so far, and last year was 32.1. He did swing and miss a little bit last year, but still 50%. I think I like Toggy a little bit, but they both come with their warts for sure.
They're kind of in the same area for me.
Yeah.
Jones comes cheaper. I'll probably take him, but it depends. Maybe I'll take both. Why not both?
A couple of post hype guys coming up next. I'm going to go to you on this one. What the heck do we go? We go from here on Jordan Walker. ADP is now 280. He was super hyped last year and the year before when he was going to, make the Cardinals opening day. What are you doing with Jordan Walker off the brutal 2024? Although he was better in September when he got called back up. He hit 250 with 5 home runs in 24 games in September. But we've been fooled before. Like, we finally figured it out. What do you do with Jordan Walker? I can't believe he's still 22, by the way.
Yeah, they're trying to cut down on lofting with him. They're trying to hit the ball in the gap, hit line drives instead of lofting the ball in the air. Interesting. They're excited about the results. I think the Cardinals screwed him up, but good. And I don't know if there's enough that has changed in the Cardinals organization to kind of correct it. He is their Nick Senzel.
It's not a great comp.
No, not great, Bob, again. But
yeah.
Twice I've used that. I got to come up with something different. But I think he's 22. So yeah, I'll take it.
It's funny because I looked and I thought he was like 24, 25. And I looked, I'm like, oh my God, he's still 22.
Turns 23 in May. Just the pedigree alone, you should take a chance. I wish you were on a different team. That's all.
Yeah. The Major League hard hit rate's pretty good at 43%. I just think the price is finally right. I think, he's been overvalued, overdrafted the last couple of years. And they get picked 280 again. When we get down here, if you're looking for some upside, if you got to drop somebody at this point, it doesn't hurt you. You're dropping your 18th, 19th, 20th pick all the time anyway. Right. Do you think they're just going to start him and play him this year, right? Like at least for a while until
they've got to, Scott.
I know. I think we've said that before, but they have to, right?
They do have to, but
it's not like they've brought in a bunch of guys that are concerning, right? Like this
they brought in nobody, exactly nobody, Scott.
I'm looking at their lineup. It is exactly the same team, isn't it?
They've except minus Goldschmidt, and they're going to try to trade away Arenado.
There's nobody new in this lineup though. The whole thing is all guys on the team last year.
They've literally added nobody from the outside.
Wow.
And they're moving Contreras to first base. Remember that.
Did you see Sonny Gray's interview about the team the other day, by the way?
No, I didn't.
I couldn't tell if it was real or like an AI thing, but it was he gave the most unexcited interview for the team that I've ever seen a guy give on day one.
Sonny Gray, you said that did this?
Sonny Gray did, yeah. And he attributed it to it being 7 a.m. and he was just kind of tired when he did the interview, but it looked real. But like he was just kind of like, yeah, we didn't really do much. I guess we'll have to find out and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's the attitude. There are like 4 teams in baseball like that this year, though, and a lot of it's the TV stuff, and a lot of it is some of these owners preparing for war, and the Cardinals owner is one of them that is like that. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm a Reds fan.
I don't know if I've ever seen a team that you look at the lineup. There's not one different player from last. There's not one new player from last year.
No, there isn't.
That's wild.
And as a baseball fan, I'm annoyed at this. As a Reds fan, I should be happy about it.
It's pretty interesting. I probably have not watched that closely enough, but they have nobody new. That's wild. But yeah,
I'm excited about Quinn Matthews and Michael McGreevy and what they might be able to do with the team this year. But that doesn't mean I like what they've done. It's really weird. And we'll see what they get for Arenado, but I mean, that's a thorny situation too. He already turned down a trade to the Astros. There's a lot he's not willing to take any sort of contract sort of mediation. So what sort of leverage did the Cardinals have to extract any sort of value? None.
31% hard hit and 16 home runs last year for Arenado.
Yeah, he was awful. And
hit a 3% barrel rate. Like that's down in the Victor Scott range right there.
Yeah. He can hang out in Anaheim with Anthony Rendon.
That's still the most. Is it the worst baseball contract ever?
It's pretty high up there. They're all by the Angels.
You can't go worse. You can't go worse.
Pretty bad too.
Yeah, although I felt like that. Yeah, it was. But oh my gosh, you can't go worse contract ever because Deshaun Watson wins that one. But
yeah,
man, it's baseball wise, it's pretty darn bad.
It is.
He made what, $245 million? Oof.
Not to mention all the draft picks it cost them too, and the fact that it's all guaranteed. Boy, oh boy.
No one made more money off Happy Fun Ball than Anthony Rendon.
No. And just shut it down after that.
34-126 with the juice ball, and then hasn't hit double digits since.
Yeah.
Kind of wild. Another guy that was a hype machine last year coming off a huge 2023 playoffs where the Rangers won the World Series is Evan Carter. He got hurt, though. He had a stress reaction in his back, ended his season. He started badly. Who knows if he's ever fully healthy. ADP in the main event last year was 113. Now we're at 279. He ended last year, under 200, 5 homers and 2 steals in 160 plate appearances. But again, kind of a lost season for him. Bad hard hit rate, bad barrel rate, everything looked pretty bad. But we saw a lot from him in 2023. Yeah, bad back. He was really good in the playoffs when they threw him in. He was at third in the World Series that year. It was pretty wild. He's a candidate to hit leadoff this year. Going to play center field. He's a good center fielder. Are you back in on Evan Carter this year? I don't know if you were in last year, but are you back in at the new price this year?
I had him in a couple places, and I think I should take the he owes me path, but it's hard to do so, especially because bad backs come back, and that's the thing that kind of scares me.
If it wasn't a back, I'd be fully in because I love this kind of bounce back profile. And I loved watching him play in 2023, but you're right. Backs don't go away very easily.
Yeah. So I'll probably get him once or twice, but he's not going to be like one of those, oh yeah, this is my guy.
Yeah. What about the guy right after him? Pick 280, Joe Adell. We talked about him a bunch last year. Do you think he turned a corner at all? He hit 207 last year, but he did have 20 home runs, 15 stolen bases. Strikeouts are still an issue, but they're down from his other cups of coffee he had in the majors. Now he's stuck last year. What do you feel about Adell at pick 280 on this Angels team?
I still think he strikes out too much. I mean, it was 28, not 40%.
Yep.
But then again, this is his first extended trial. Again, he's fine. First time where he got over 300 plate appearances in a given season at the big league level. He first hit the bigs in 2020. Oof. He's only 25 years older. He was 20. Last year was his age 25 season. He'll turn 26 in April. He's okay. He's never going to be a batting average guy, though. I think, what are we looking at for an upside for batting average here? 230, 240, maybe like he did in 2021. I don't see him taking that exponential leap. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening with the Angels.
This is a guy I really like taking a shot on. I think he's going to be a target for me here. I like that his swinging strike rate dropped down to 14%. So maybe a little, it shows that the strikeout rate was supported. So if he can stick around there, his BABIP was 244 last year. He's a 280 career guy, even through his struggles. But he gets up to 280, then suddenly he hits 230, and then he becomes, batting average is kind of crappy in baseball anyway. But I really like the shot on him here at pick 280. I think he's the sprint speed is 86th percentile. So I think the 15 stolen bases have a chance to stick. 98th percentile in bat speed. So I think the home runs are definitely there. I don't think there's ever a doubt he can hit the ball far. It's just a matter of the strikeouts. If he can stick it even in the high 20s, I think he could hit 235. If that comes with, 20, 25 home runs and, 13 to 17 stolen bases, I think he's someone that is really good at this price with the chance of pretty significant upside. He's got a really good pedigree. He's obviously been a huge prospect for a while. I think this is a really good spot for him. Barrel rate was as high as ever last year at 11.7%. Hard hit rate was over 45%. First time over 40%. I think he's turned a corner. I think he showed a lot of improvements, and I really like this and he's going to play every single day. There's no issue with him here. I really like Adell.
All right. Well, Clay Link has him at like 283 in his rankings. So, that's someone I'm kind of, and the fact that you like him has me at least a little more interested. And I'm looking now, I don't have a whole lot of playing time in there for him. So I only have him for like 109 starts. So I think I want to bump him up a little bit there, at least in the playing time. That probably puts him closer. That alone probably puts him closer to where you're at for him.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think there's anything there that's going to keep him from playing, right?
Mickey Moniak's there. I know some people in this forum like Mickey Moniak quite a bit, but that it might not be mutually exclusive anyhow. But let's see, Ward, Trout for the games he's there. No, you're right. Adell's still going to play.
He's going to play.
Yeah, I think you're right. He is
right-handed. I guess Soler probably takes DH, so that kind of shuts that down. So you do have Moniak, but I mean, Trout's not going to play a ton of games. I mean, I think Adell's going to play. I don't think that's going to be the concern. I think it's if the strikeouts come back is really the big thing with him. And if he actually made the improvements and there's enough there that I think he has, I'd like the BABIP was low because I think that's artificially kept the batting average down at the rates where it was when he had a 38% strikeout rate. Whereas if they had just a regular BABIP, he would have hit 235 and people would be more in on him this year. I think that reverts back to normal. I think the 235 is in play. And if he hits 235, I think that he's really, really good at this price.
Yeah. I'd agree, especially if league average is like 247 or something. If if a league full of Chris Davises with a K, I think that's definitely 235 is fine.
I guess the one with the C had a lower batting average, right?
Yeah. And just Chris Davis with a K had 3 straight years at 247.
It was pretty wild. That was a crazy stretch there. Him and the Adam Dunn, didn't he hit 40 home runs like 3 years in a row or something, 4 years in a row, something crazy like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Wild how things work out exactly like that. I'm looking at Dunn here. Just I'm curious. Yeah, he hit 40 exactly 4 years in a row.
That's amazing.
2005 to 2008, 3.5 of which on our Reds. 40 home runs exactly.
Yep, indeed.
I got another target. I got some back-to-back targets here, Jeff.
Yes.
Somebody on Twitter wanted some targets. It wasn't the target show quite yet, but Tyler Soderstrom in I'm just going to go athletics. ADP is about 290. He got called up last year. Was going to kind of get his shot. Then he had a wrist injury. Did come back again. You mentioned that earlier with someone. You like the fact I think it was Josh Young that he came back. You like the fact that he came back last year. At least showed that he was ready to go. Overall in the majors, he hit 233, 9 homers in 61 games. Really good hard contact profile. 49% hard hit rate, 14.5% barrel rate. Those are really good numbers right there. The Ks aren't great, but they're also not horrible. We talk a lot about guys today about, K rates in the 28, 29. He was 25% last year. Down his small sample from the year before. Swing strikeout rate is probably still a little too high, but it seems some improvements here. 28% strikeout rate can definitely be worked at in today's baseball. Statcast numbers really good, especially those power numbers. He's just a first-round pedigree guy. I think it feels like a really good shot here at 290. I think he's going to have a good lineup spot. I think they're going to really commit to playing him. I like Soderstrom as a round 17, 18, 19 guys going to give you got a chance to give you 20 home runs.
Yeah, I've got him for 19, and that's with the limited amount of playing time because I don't know how much he's going to play against lefties, if at all. But that might not matter, and especially with the improved ballpark, I get it.
Yeah, I really like the price here. I think they're just going to commit to him too. You're right. He'll probably sit against some lefties. I guess you play Miguel Andujar or someone like that against lefties, and you sit Soderstrom. But they also got Blade. They also got Seth Brown. They can't sit all of them. So I mean, someone's got to play. They don't have that many righties going to come off the bench. I mean, I guess Ruiz or Max Schumann, but like nobody exciting. I think that Storms will play against some lefties. You probably want to sit against the good lefties anyway. But I think the power's here. I think he's a big pedigree guy. I like the price here.
Yeah, Ariel on his ATC projections has him playing 130 games. So if that's the case, you're talking about 25 to 30 homer guy, perhaps.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think he's 23. I think he plays. I think he just plays. I think they just run him out there as much as they can. You're right. The ballpark's going to help too.
Yep.
Someone who was a bust hype last year. We got a couple names left here before we jump out of here. Thairo Estrada was very popular in drafts last year, coming off the really good 2023. Ended up getting sent down at one point. Then he was hurt a bunch during the year. He only had 381 plate appearances in the majors, 9 homers. The 2 steals was killer. He had 20 plus stolen bases in the prior 2 years. He only had 2 last year. Maybe that he was just banged up the whole time. But this is someone that doesn't hit the ball hard. He's a barrel rate under 5% last 2 years. You need those stolen bases. But Estrada is now moving to Coors. He's moving from San Francisco to Colorado. Obviously, a huge park change. The StatCast page is pretty revolting. He's under 20 percentile, a lot of stuff. But what do you do with Estrada moving to obviously a way better ballpark?
Yeah, way better ballpark. It is the paste eaters, so they'll find ways to screw them up. But I had to throw that in there. Gratuitous shot at the Rockies. But
that team is going to get killed in the NL West.
Oh, they are. They're
killed.
Another team that's done very little this offseason, but they do very little every offseason, so it's a little different. We don't call attention to it because it's the new norm.
And I mean, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. The Padres are good. The Diamondbacks are going to be good. The Giants have, added some guys. I mean, the Rockies are going to get killed in that division. Yeah,
I got him for 12 and 12 homers and stolen bases, hitting 248. He could definitely improve upon that, though. Definitely. He's a little older than people realize. Thairo Estrada.
28. Wow.
Yeah. And so I think that, and this is I think he turns 29 this month too. So this is what there's a course field bump potential. He could return to 2022, 2023 numbers. I think he was hurt a little bit last year too. So again, but they straight up outrighted him off their roster in August. The Giants did with Estrada. So, but he was a key piece. He was a guy that was going around 150 in our drafts before.
Yeah.
I could see him getting back to that level.
I mean, it's all on the stolen bases, right? He's got to steal 20 plus because the hitting profile is just not there. You're going to get in cores. Maybe you get 12 to 15 homers, like you said, 12 and 12. I think if he goes 12 and 12, he's not worth it. But if he goes 12, 23, 24, 25, then he probably is. Probably not a profile I'm going to go after. There's other guys in the range I like more. I just tend to not go with guys that I don't think are very good hitters.
Yeah,
I just think
that's a great lose. Yeah, hey, that's a pretty good way of boiling it down.
You're just so much at risk at losing your job when you can't hit. Like you have to get hot right away. It's just tough. I mean, I know the Rockies don't have a lot of guys, but I think I'm pretty much out of Estrada.
Okay.
Couple other guys I want to get to. We've gone a little bit long here as we tend to do. Nolan Schanuel in Anaheim. I always can have trouble with saying his name. Where do you fall on him? He's someone that's a really interesting profile, especially for a first baseman. Just the power's not there at all. We talk about Estrada having a hard hit rate that's not very good. Schanuel's at 25%, 3.5% barrel rate. It's just so weird for a first baseman. He had 13 home runs, 10 stolen base last year, and 607 plate appearances. The key is the plate appearance. He's going to play. He might lead off a bunch, so maybe the runs are there. All the team might be really bad if Trout gets hurt. What do you do here? It doesn't sound like he's going to hit top three. We mentioned that earlier. It's going to be Ward, Trout, and Soler. So then maybe that affects him too. The strikeout numbers are really good. I just don't know if you could play a corner which doesn't have any pop.
Yeah, I wonder. Is there a season where he gets to 20, or is he Todd Benzinger?
His harder hit rate's 25% each of his. I know his first year was really quick, but last year he played 147 games. 25% is. He's like, I think he was fourth worst in baseball last year.
That's bad. That's really bad, especially for a first baseman too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of out on him, unless we're playing OBP.
I laughed at that Esteury Ruiz comment if they left him in Oakland. I don't know what they did with him. He clearly was not. He was persona non grata in the A's last year, but that's a funny comment. But yeah, I agree with you on Schanuel too. I don't know. I guess he can get to 20, but it's a really tough path when you don't hit the ball hard. You better hope every ball you square up goes out.
Yeah.
And I know he walks. He still had a 343 OBP last year, so maybe he's probably one of those guys just probably significantly better in real baseball than he is in fantasy. I
don't even know if that's true though.
Yeah,
you got to hit the ball with some authority at times.
You do, especially at a corner infield spot. It's tough to have first baseman hit 12 home runs.
Yeah.
Good Todd Benzinger comp though. That was impressive.
Thank you.
Was he on that dumb 1990 Reds team?
The World Series champion 1990 Reds? Yes.
It was. Freaking sweep too. I was still nightmares about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Billy Hatcher.
Rio. Oh my God. Yep. Jose Rio was dealing in that. He pitched he pitched 1 and 4, right?
Yep.
He was nasty. But let's finish with your Reds then. Let's go to there because I know we talked about the infield before. How do you feel about Gavin Lux? You mentioned McLain's going to play second base, so maybe we don't know what happens to Lux. Maybe some outfield. You mentioned the outfield didn't go very well. Maybe some third base if the arm plays, some DH. The thing with Gavin Lux is he was really, really good in the second half last year. And I watch a lot of Dodgers games. I have a lot of Dodgers friends. We talk Dodgers a lot, and they were so over Lux in the first half. He was weirdly like not swinging with any aggression or not swinging hard. And you could watch it. He's just like, you could tell it wasn't there. In the second half, it really changed. He had 304 with 7 home runs in 61 games post All-Star break after I think 213 with 3 home runs pre All-Star break. You could tell he changed his approach. The strikeouts went up a little bit. The walks also went up too. So he was kind of attacking his pitch. The walks were there, but the strikeout rate did go up. So he was definitely being more aggressive. He did 900 OPS in the second half. I know the BABIP was high. I do get that. It was 390. It's not going to happen again. But a 900 OPS, and you move from Dodger Stadium to the Red Stadium. Obviously, Great American's a really good place to hit. He 152 WRC plus in the second half for Gavin Lux. He was really, really good in the second half, and it got hidden because of the fact he was so bad in the first half.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that on balance, I like the trade for the Reds just because it's another good bat, and they didn't put enough emphasis on offense last year. on hitting, and just having that depth. Oh, you can never, because, we had too many infield bats. Well, no, you didn't. The defense is terrible with Gavin Lux, and that, where he fits is kind of an issue. But on balance, I like adding another good left-handed bat. Have him play against righties. You can use them as a pick in the 300s. You can use them all the time in their home stands. And just
good point.
I think you just use them as your middle, and he might end up adding some other position qualifications as well. So I like that too.
Yeah, if you get second, third, and outfield, and you can cover middle and corner with someone, that's super valuable. I just wonder. I mean, he was as big a prospect as there is. I mean, he was a massive prospect. He was near the top of the list, and at pick 330, there is a chance that Gavin Lux turned the corner in the second half last year and moving to a great stadium. I just think he's a guy that you got to see I think you got to grab him and move him up a couple rounds. Grab him if it's not there, easy drop. But man, I think this is someone that has some upside, and maybe you get a top prospect that's post hype and turn a corner. That second half means something to me at this spot. I mean, I don't like to play into that too much with picking the samples in there, but at pick 330, I think he's really, really worth a shot moving to this ballpark.
I agree. I want to see it.
Yeah, I do as well, and hopefully, our Reds, it'd be nice if they got a windfall from that.
Yeah, I agree completely there.
How do you feel about our Reds? Lastly, before we move in,
they're not
moving into 2025.
No, I don't think they're going to be very good at all.
Does that division give me any good though?
The Cubs should be good. I think the Cubs should be all right.
Brewers always find a way, right?
And I just gave out on VSiN that I think the Brewers win total of like 82.5. I like the over on that because they always find a way. They won 93 last year. Yeah. It's not perfect, but I do think that they'll be a team that should be a little bit better than get expected, better than the Reds. They're going to get Woodruff back. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I like that they went out and hired Francona. I mean, that's great. And they did what the moves that the Reds do. They add Gavin Lux. They add 2 past their prime relief pitchers to help build the depth of that bullpen. They trade India for Singer. It's like, okay, none of these are, shock the world sort of deals. You're not going to get that as the Reds. You're never going to get Juan Soto. You're never going to get trade for Kyle Tucker. Let's just be honest. That just doesn't happen in Cincinnati.
I don't love the Brewers roster as I look at it, though. I don't. The bottom half of that lineup's not great, and the back half of the starting rotation's not great. You mentioned Woodruff coming back at some point, but I don't know. That lineup doesn't scare me at all.
They're still like a whole is greater than the sum of their parts type of team, though.
Always are. That's what I was saying. They just always kind of find a way, right?
Yep.
So cool. Anybody else you want to talk about? I feel like we hit a ton of players for first pod together back, and a lot of names, and we've gone fairly long here. Anybody else you want to talk about?
No, I think we're ready to hop on out here. I'm just happy to have you back, though, man.
I appreciate that. It's fun to be back. It's a very welcome distraction. I'm looking forward to talking a lot of baseball here the next couple months to go into draft season.
All right, very good.
Beautiful. Want to thank everybody for listening. There was a lot of chat in the chat, and we really appreciate that as well. I want to thank Fantrax for the sponsorship of the podcast. Really appreciate that as well. If you want to rate or review the podcast, say some nice things about us, or leave some stars, that would be excellent as well. You can follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff_Erickson if you want to. He has some interesting stuff, I'm sure, there. And I'm just at Scott Jenstad. But other than that, really good to be back talking baseball with everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's enjoying draft season. We're back at you next Sunday. What do you do? Pitchers after 200, late pitchers, something like that?
Yeah, we'll do that next week for sure.
Beautiful. That sounds like a plan. Hope everybody enjoys spring training getting started up here too. It should be really fun. So hope everybody has a really good week. Take care. We'll talk to you next week.